welcome everyone. This is the Long-Term Finance Committee meeting. Today is March the 31st, a Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. here in the Nat U. Hill Room. And I want to acknowledge for the record that Councilmember Crossley has stepped down from the Long-Term Finance Planning Committee. And as the President Pro Tem for the Monroe County Council, I will be filling that vacancy. Given that, I would like to call today's meeting of the Long-Term Finance Planning Committee to order for this Tuesday, March 31st. I want to note for the record that we have Councilmember Liz Feidel in the room, and Councilmember Marty Hawk is yet to join us. So we'll keep an eye out for her virtually or here in the Nat U. Hill Room. Does anybody wish to amend today's agenda?
No.
All right. In that case, since there's no changes to today's agenda, all those in favor of adopting today's agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. The motion carries unanimous. Next, we'll move on to the election of the chair. And since this is the first meeting of the long-term finance for 2026, we need to elect a chair and a vice chair. Councilmember Feidel, do we have any nominations for chair?
I nominate you.
I accept that nomination. And let's see, I think we need to now have a motion to, well, let's do them in turn here. A motion to accept this chair and...
So moved.
All right, we've got a motion. I second that. Are there any other comments? Looking here to make sure that Councilmember Hawk is not present. All right, and we need to do a roll call on this.
You're all present, I believe.
All right. All those in favor of Peter Iverson as chair of the Long-Term Finance Committee, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it unanimously. Next, I would like to nominate Councilmember Liz Feidel as vice chair of the Long-Term Finance Committee. Do you accept the nomination?
Yes.
Excellent. In that case, I move to accept Liz Feidel as vice chair of the Long-Term Finance Committee. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Hearing a motion and a second, are there any other comments? Again, making sure that we don't have another council member on the line. All right, we don't. So all those in favor of Councilmember Liz Feidel as vice chair for the Long-Term Finance Committee, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The ayes have it unanimously. All right, last thing before we get to our esteemed guests is the approval of the summary minutes.
I move to approve the June 6th and August 1st, 2025 long-term finance summary meetings minutes as presented.
Second. Are there any questions from the committee on these minutes? All right, all those in favor of approving the summary minutes as presented signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. The motion carries unanimously. All right, now we're going to move into the meat of our conversation. The first item on our agenda is a presentation from the Monroe County Trustees Association. We have president, is that right? Chair?
I think so.
All right. Of the Bloomington Township Trustee, Efrat Rosser. We have Leon Gordon from the Perry Township Trustee's Office and Rita Barrow from the Van Buren Trustee's Office. So thank you, Township Trustees, for your presence here. The floor is yours. Tell us what we need to know.
Thank you so much, Chairman, and to all the committee members and council members for your time and for being really proactive on these conversations. We know this will all sneak up on us, and we want the public to be well-informed and engaged, and you're leading the way. So I also want to acknowledge we have some colleagues joining us via Teams. I believe Michelle Bright, the Benton Township trustee, Joan Hall from Salt Creek Township, and Scott Smith from Polk Township, and I apologize if I missed anyone. And while we're not here necessarily speaking as an official organization today, we're here as a majority of the members who've had a chance to come together around some of the information that we shared out with you in a packet. And if you don't mind, we'll just take you through it because I think we're just concerned about our future as it relates to some of the changes that the state mandated via SB1 and other legislation in the next couple of years, and looking for your partnership to work through these issues. So townships, a real quick overview. We are the most, localized grassroots layer of government in Indiana. We're each independent government units that respond to our unique community needs and challenges. But the overarching themes are that we are sort of that safety net, and in a lot of communities, the only one. Here we have a more robust one, but we're often that final barrier between a resident in crisis and homelessness. So we like to say that we prevent evictions and homelessness every day, every week. We keep people safely housed with utilities and heat on. We provide food, we can provide assistance with certain medical needs, and we help pay for the burials of folks who may not have had the means to do so themselves. On the third slide, if you're following along, we did just want to put a chart together, and I thank Rita for pulling this together with the scope of all of our combined assistance to households and individuals in Monroe County. So if you take the 11 townships and look at those totals at the bottom, combined just last year alone, we helped over 5,600 individual recipients. That is almost 2,400 households. And the value of that assistance is over $1.3 million. And this doesn't capture all the casework, the calls where people are inquiring about services, so information referral, as well as some other duties that we statutorily have. So that's the quick overview, and then I'd love to turn it over to my colleague, Leon Gordon, who put a lot of great work into digging into the financial picture and where we might go from there. So, Mr. Gordon?
Yes, thank you, Efrat, and thank you all for having us today. As Efrat mentioned, I wanted to take some time to try to paint a picture of where our financial landscape lies, where our money comes from. And so I'll start there and then kind of get into the scope of that landscape under the changes coming through legislation. And so township funding comes from three core buckets. That's property taxes, the levies, of course, the lit shares under the current system, and smaller tax, supplemental taxes like excise and vehicle and commercial taxes. And so, yes, our goal today is to hone in on what lit shares have been for us and what we hope for them to continue to be. Moving on to the next slide, if you're following along, I chose to hone in on Perry's Township's numbers, specifically zooming in to give a clear picture of our financials with regard to how much we rely on lit. As you can see, our property tax levy for 2025 is rophy $800,000, and our current lit baseline accounts for roughly 28% of our operational revenue. So roughly about a third of our operations relies on lit to do the work that we do, and the numbers that you see that Efrat shared. And so if we follow along to the next slide, zooming out to, we paint the same picture for our counterparts and the landscape for contributions for property tax levy and then lit, as well as the other smaller taxes as well. What I thought was critical here is, again, that picture that that percentage of reliance holds true for pretty much all townships here. And so lit has been pretty critical to our baselines of operations And if you could see that aggregate number there for the total from this current distribution is 1.64 million. And so we honing in on that number as a baseline as we think about the future, as that's where we currently are. Moving on to the changes. And so what we understand and the research that we've been digging into, we're placed in the bucket, of course, with the non-municipal civil taxing units, and that restriction of maximum income for that related to 0.2% of the total expenditure rate, which within our bucket, townships have to share a maximum of 0.05% of that lit expenditure rate. And so doing the math, what we projected, and again, I'm a little disclaimer on the complete accuracy of these numbers, that amount translates to a maximum available pool of roughly 2.14 million available funds under the statute that is required by statute, the limit by statute. And so put up against what our current numbers are, we provided you with a figure for what our needs would be adjusted for inflation in 2028, which is roughly 1.77 million. All right, follow that. Just kind of to bring it home, we're asking that take strong consideration to enact that total 0.05% percentage available to townships. This is in the context of all the other constraints and other recent legislative changes, of course, with changes to how valuation happen in the property taxes that we're going to be able to recoup, and also the distribution formula for lit will be changing considerably for townships, and that will definitely make a difference moving forward for some of our smaller townships. And navigating that will require that we have a strong baseline to seek to do the most good with each other in terms of making sure that every resident in Monroe County has access to hardship relief. And I'll move to speak just a little bit more on the landscape of change with regard to additional changes that we're expecting as a reason to, again, advocate for that full funding. We understand that the implementation of Senate Enrolled Act 270, the township merger, is coming to fruition, and by December 31st, we'll know ideally if there's going to be any force or mandated merging. And so within that scope, there's additional changes on the horizon for the merger with Richland Township and Ellettsville that will significantly impact lit distribution formula and the math involved with that. And again, as I mentioned, the per capita distributions. And so as we navigate that change, we're hoping that we can anchor down on having your support to the maximum amount as possible with the idea of that it's changing, it's evolving, and we hope to remain present to do the work that we do. And I will move now to turn it over to Rita, who's our veteran here among us, to just again speak to the importance of townships and why we would hope for your continued support.
Okay, I'm Rita Barlow, Van Buren Township trustee, and what I'm about to say to you does not really have any impact on anything they've said other than what we do. As trustees, we don't look at it as an elected official. We look at it as a job for our constituents. Therefore, we go through, as everyone has said, what we do each day. What I want you to understand is we have an office. We have an office with an open door. Individuals come in, and some of their situations and the positions and the critical issues that they have are overwhelming sometimes. So we have to sit and talk with them one-on-one, and we get them to understand that with us, we can help certain things, and there are other things that we can help them with or direct them to. But things like individuals that come in with a disease that they are looking for disability and still haven't received it, sometimes years later. So we are looking at them. We try to keep them as close as we can without overspending on just one individual. We have families to come in with no income because they've lost their jobs, they've been evicted, and so now they have no place to go, no food to eat. Their clothing, heaven knows where it comes from and what it looks like. Another thing, tornadoes. And as you guys know, we have had these issues. So we, again, are out there. For individuals, we help with Red Cross and us to try to get them into some place until they can get the insurance claims and get started or find a place that they can rent for just a short time. We use our budgets to be able to continue our jobs and to our residents. We all, like I said, we like to help with other departments, hoping that those individuals will help us as well. The LID funds we receive allows us to place more of our budget into township assistance instead of township general or any other fund, in turn keeping our team members, our employees, in a job, a facility to work in, have a place for them, for individuals to come in that's needing help, in addition to keeping our lights and utilities and whatever else we have to do, insurance. In closing, I just want you to realize that we as trustees place our residents first before anything else, and I would be very grateful for the County Council to consider and continue providing lit to use for my and your constituents. Thank you for allowing us to speak and your consideration 1.05 in advance to continue to help townships. Thank you. Any questions?
Well, before I go to my colleagues, were there other township trustees online that had further comments?
I believe we worked this out together, but I certainly, if you want to pause and offer opportunity, I may have missed someone in my introductions.
All right, yeah, if you wanted to raise your hand on Teams, if you are a township trustee and you'd like to add further context to the data that was shared, now would be a good time to do so. All right, seeing none, let's go to my council colleagues for questions and comments.
I think I'm okay for now, but I'll continue to listen and see if something comes up.
Pull her mic down, please.
As you might know, I do have questions, and I apologize for not being here on time, but then, you know, my name is Marty, and I'm late wherever I go. I do too much in one day, can't do it. I'm seeing that 0.05, and I'm trying to figure that out because I know that Liz and I are going to get further updates next week when we go to the AIC meeting. It had been written before, so maybe things have definitely changed. But it was supposed to be that the townships would be in the .02. So maybe this has all changed, something new to me, but I've questioned it, and so far I haven't seen the change. It's 1.2 for county operations, it's 0.4 for fire and EMS, and 0.2 for townships. Now, we can't do 100% of all that because we can't do any more than a certain amount. We can't do any more than 1.7. So in order to hear you and be fair to everybody else, we also need to hear from the fire departments to see how that's going to work out, and also to hear from the library. But the big sticky point here is going to be from that Bloomington Transportation, because they've already said they need all of the .2. And part of the legislation says that if we should pass something that is higher than it is supposed to be, that they will take first from the option 1, which is the 1.2 to operate county government. So this is, for anybody to promise anything right now would be a real mistake, because we really don't have the numbers. Now, I see our county legal department getting up and leaving. I thought maybe he was, well, I saw Jeff going that way, thought maybe he was going to correct me on that. And I'm willing to hear corrections, because I don't know what is the what is the 0.05? Had you already explained that and I missed it? I'm sorry.
I think, as a simplistic way of saying it, there are different pies within that 1.9 that you all have to figure out with different caps, right? And we understand that we may be falling under one that includes the special districts, but our current understanding is that within that, townships alone would have 0.05. If that has changed or you see something different, I think that's why we're here, is to just talk this out. We also are aware that you may be working with Reedy, right? Financial, is that fair to say that the county might be engaging a consultant? No? Okay. Well, I guess there was discussion amongst the group of if there is still analysis to be done, that maybe we could all go in together on, work through a consultant to really put a stamp on all of this. But we're aware there's a 0.2 and then there's the 0.05 within it.
So you're saying 0.05 in a part of whatever the 0.2 is.
0.2.
But I hate to keep saying this, but we may not be able to do the 0.2.
Understandable.
Because the fire departments say we really have to have the 0.4, and we're trying to do ambulance service in there as well.
Right.
Then the only place we could take it from would be county operations, which is where we have to pay for the jail debt to bond. Yeah. And I questioned that yesterday just to make sure we were still on track. And yes, whatever we commit to for the bond and repayment, whatever that has to set within that 1.2. I know that may not be what you want to hear, but I think we all need to operate from this is where we sit right now. Yeah. And now there may be those who say, well, look, let's go ahead and pass the thing with this that the city wants us to do, which is tax all the people who don't live in the city and send the majority of that money to the city. You might know that I represent people who are in more rural areas, and they're not going to support that, and nor will I. But that doesn't mean it might not pass. There's a small amount of that money that might be coming back to county government, so maybe they could figure out some way to move those dollars around. I don't know, but I would not want to count on that happening because there's going to be a major pushback. That was what Senate Bill 1 was to begin with, was to quit taxing the people who live outside of where they can vote if they can't vote for how it's going to be spent.
Yeah.
So I wanted to share that with you because I think we all need to be coming from the table of reality and then see where we go.
Sure. I think we fully understand the dilemma you're placed in terms of there's more needs and requests than the amount available to you to disperse, and you have some hard choices to make. So we can only be here as townships saying,
You should be.
this is what we need, and in fact, more, because we're barely keeping up some days with the demand out there. So we understand this. The rest is sort of up to you to get pen and paper out and do that hard work, and you'll have some difficult choices to make. And there's a lot in motion, like you said, with the city and their choices. Then you have the Richland-Ellettsville merger that might take Richland out of the pie that gets shared by townships. So there's all these different things in play.
And if I could just reiterate, today is not the day to make decisions. We are going to take the data that you've so carefully put together and share it with our council colleagues. And this is going to be built into the decision-making calculus that we'll make closer to budget time. But when, I just want to remind everybody that the timeline here is that you all had come to a county council meeting and said, we need to have this conversation because this is happening. Whether you want it to or not, this is happening. And so today is that day where we can put a finer point on this. And here we've got something to react to. We've got that 0.5, we've got that number $1.77 million, we've got lit reliance per township, we've got service households, number of households using your services. There's a wealth of information here, but I think probably there's two other aspects here that creates more uncertainty for me is, number one is this issue of the climate. Are we going to be seeing more derechos? Are we going to be seeing more tornadoes? We saw a tornado in February, for Pete's sake, So that's something. And if the population here continues to grow, which it is slowly, you're going to see more and more need. And so particularly then, if there's going to be a merger happening after December, as you so finally put it, that's, we just don't know. So I think, let me kick it over to Councilmember Fidel. Do you have any further questions at this point?
I do not. I think Efrat is right. I think we have some tough decisions to make, and I personally, and I know that my colleagues appreciate the information to work with to pass along your concerns and your desires, right, to serve the people, and that's really what I'm interested in, is serving the people.
Please.
Also, I know that you were hit by another part of that legislation that said, well, and now you know what I'm going to be talking about. If you've got any money setting aside in your capital improvement plan, I think it's what they call it, that might go to filling potholes and so forth. And I understand the people. I'm not finding fault with people at the state. They're handed a lot of problems, and they're trying to work through each one how to fix it. But it's been many, many years. I think townships used to do more in the way of road maintenance. They don't now. But if they expect, and so I know that you're working around trying to make sure your capital improvement plan's not leaving money on the table. I get it. That's what we do with finance. You have to figure out a way around everything. But I want you to know that we know that we're listening and we understand. And you're the one that has to look at that person who needs help with their rent or their utilities, or get the trees off of their roof that they can't afford to do. So I think I'll go on vacation and forget the rest of it.
All right, so I think in terms of next steps, obviously, once we have more clarity on some of these things, you're always welcome to come back to the county council. We are going to be having these long-term finance meetings quarterly. So as we know more and more about some of the actions that the legislature took we'll be deciphering more and more of that. And so you'll, of course, be welcomed back to bring updates as they occur. And you're always welcome to please send any additional information you have that you think will be helpful for us as we're formulating our next steps. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
I would like to make a suggestion. Have you sat down and worked with the other units that might be pulling from this, like the fire departments, like the library, like the Bloomington Transportation? I'm just saying maybe you would.
Yeah, not yet. I mean, I think we wanted to gain understanding between the 11 townships first. And that can, as you can imagine, is challenging to pull that many busy people together.
Everybody's fighting over the same piece of cherry pie.
Yeah, I'll say that was definitely our initial approach in thinking about this, and then we learned about the additional caps for each individual entity within and those limitations. So we thought we had to definitely kind of get to the table with each other and understand our livelihoods were to sustain.
We're here as partners, so let's continue to talk. Let's continue to work together.
Thank you. Please let us know if you need any other information at any point. Thank you.
All right. We are going to move to next. The item on our agenda is, let's see, you do it right here. I want to make sure you're caught up on everything.
What do you want?
This agenda here. We are going to invite, let's see, our auditors to the table here, and you can come over here. You can stay where you're at, whatever works for you all. Oh, you've got your nameplates over there. Why don't you stay over there? So we wanted to look at a couple of different data points. So Brianne Gregory is our auditor. Do you want to go ahead and walk us through what you've prepared, and then we can start asking questions?
Sure, I'd love to. Good afternoon. Thanks for having us here today. So I just wanted to start off with review of the reversions. We have a little bit of a different template this year. We've consolidated so you can see data from the 23 to 24 period, 24 to 25, and then of course the most recent 25 to 26 reversions. So the way this is organized, it's organized by fund, the department, because there are a lot of funds that have more than one departmental budget located there, and as well as category, then organizational tool as well. So this just goes through budget by budget, so department by department and by fund, and just details what was unexpended at the end of the year. So as of 12/31/25, what the department did not use, what was left remaining in the fund that we budgeted. So we did consider encumbrances as well. However, for the most part, the county just budgets, so we don't encumber a lot. We only encumber bonds, for example. So in going through this, we are doing better than we have in previous years as far as budgeting more accurately. We do still have some work to do, but I think some of that, for example, personnel, that was the category that had the greatest reversions overall, particularly in the general fund. But I think some of the policy choices that we've made collectively, for example, the hiring freeze, have allowed for the slow roll and, if you will, the savings of certain periods of time. Will save money then if we're not paying out during those periods. So I think that's part of the reason, even though we're budgeting a little bit more closely to need, we're seeing a greater reversion there. So
before you go any further,
sure.
Is it possible to share the spreadsheet entitled 2023, 2024, and 2025 reversion report? Thank you.
Carly could share if she's upgraded.
Oh, okay, because I'm on as well.
Either way. You ready to share? I don't think she has the permission if you want to go.
Oh, okay, yes, I can do it.
TSD, please provide Carly Woodruff with permission to share her screen for the future. Oh, looks like she was just given it. Okay. Okay.
Excellent.
You should see the reversion report has populated on the screen there. Okay, so again, this just goes through for selection of funds. For example, all the levy funds are noted there, a handful of other funds that might be interesting to review. We did include some of those unappropriated expenses where, like, fund-to-fund transfers, for example, or there's certain instances where we don't require an appropriation for, like, a state called meeting, for example, could be technically expended out of here, out of general fund unappropriated. So anyhow, as I was saying, personnel is where we saw the most consistent higher reversions, although we are doing better as a whole. There are still a couple to few departments where we might be able to, get that even closer if that is the will of the council, to budget as accurately as possible. But, we're providing this as a tool, and you're welcome to ask questions, or if we need to dig in deeper, if you have those more specific questions, we can provide a report with the detail as well.
Council members, do you have any questions specifically about this reversion report or personnel lines within it? Member Hawk?
I'd have to have time to study it.
Of course. Please.
Yeah, okay. So, yes, and as you develop further questions, or even members of the public, they can reach out to my office for more specifics, okay? So we appreciate that. And then I believe we would be moving on then to...
Before we move on, can we go back? Can we look at the bottom line on the reversion report?
Actually, I mean, that you can see that, but this is only for a selection of funds. It's not like all of county, so I don't think that's a great tool right there. I would like you to look at a fund by fund basis.
Got it. Okay.
So yeah, just to reiterate, this isn't all of county funds. This is a selection of funds that would be most beneficial for review. Then, is it okay to move on to the next? President Ivory, okay. Okay, the next piece of information, I'd like to draw your attention to the Monroe County fiscal overview, or I'm sorry, financial overview. This is a new report created by Ms. Woodruff over here, the financial director in my office. This is just kind of a top-level overview of where we are as of Q1. It's actually as of 3/26, so we didn't quite get to the end of the quarter. I'm sorry, it was updated to 3/30, excuse me. So this shows you historical information, so 24, 25, and then as we are then in Q1 as well. So you can comparatively see the beginning cash balances, revenue totals as of the different periods, expenditure totals, ending cash balance in the ledger at those periods as well, and then just the changes there as far as the cash analysis. So right now we're pretty close to where we expect to be overall. Nothing glaring there in that top box. We anticipated revenue versus actual revenue for levy funds specifically. And again, pretty much what we anticipate there. There's no giant swings, nothing glaring. Obviously for 2026, as we are only in Q1, I mean, that's the anticipated versus actual is only, looking at Q1. So that's why you see that number there, that percent. As far as the expenditure analysis for levy funds, all that data is there as well. We've actually, because of very careful budgeting and planning, we're actually at the lowest expenditure per point we've been in the last couple of years, which is great, and kudos overall to all the departments for being very conservative.
It's gone down a little bit each year, I see, right?
And I mean, part of that
comparative quarters, I mean.
Comparatively, yes. And obviously, you know, different things factor in, you know, different times of year we expend more for various reasons. I mean, you have to think about ARPA in the last couple years as well, and so forth. So, well, these are the levy funds, so that wouldn't come into play, but just things like that that occur, you know, where we're expending more for a specific reason. I know that's a lot to digest, but does that kind of give you the overall, like, big picture you were looking for, Councilor
I think
Iverson?
this is really helpful. I think this breaks it down in a really easy to understand way where we've got that overview, revenue, and expenditures. As we know, we all love color on our reports, so thank you for including color. But I think
You're welcome.
Just hearing what Councilmember Peitel just said, it's really quick to be able to look at this and say, oh, we're doing better. Like every year we're doing better. Like we are under anticipating revenue and surprised and wonderful to see more. And then we are over budgeting, under budgeting for expenses, and that's been really helpful because then we're able to keep those expenses under control.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I think just as we update this quarter to quarter, this will help us, and it's just another tool to help identify any glaring issues or, you know, giant waves that we want to identify reasoning for, so.
Councilmember Hawk.
Yes, this could be very helpful. What I'm looking for, maybe it's in here someplace and I just don't see it, but as we know, we have the levy funds that are inside that max levy, and that's really where I want to concentrate how much is spent down on each of those things. And that would not be under cum cap or a major bridge particularly, but the others that are all within that frozen levy portion. So do you have that? Is that someplace here and I'm not seeing? I don't think it is.
That's not on this overview, but we can separate that out perhaps for the next report. And you get that in other ways too, other reports that we do. However, we're happy to take your constructive criticism and adjust as you'd like to see it.
Right. The reason why is because we know during budget session, we were moving some of the levy over into general to help out general. And we also knew when we were doing that, we were going to have to replace it. So that's what we have to keep a close eye on is as we're working toward long-term, even long-term for next year's budget, is how much of that general fund levy will we need to actually move over into these other levy funds. So that's something we have to keep a close eye on.
Absolutely, I agree.
So as you were developing this report, did either one of you have any items that you thought of as potential recommendations to make to council as we're considering the next year's budget?
Yes, that was actually going to be my next point as well. So we would invite the council to maybe collectively discuss a budgeting philosophy that we could work toward, meaning are we going to strive for a balanced budget every year? Or as we are working through these statutory changes, are we, going to have a deficit budget? If we're going to have a deficit budget, how far do you want to dig into reserves? What is the capacity for that? We need to identify the health of the funds, and we can assist with that, obviously, to determine where we could potentially dig in, what is available. We also need to look at other revenue streams. For example, we know that we need to review the rate for lit special purpose. And we've identified that we'll need to have that rate we need to raise the rate so it's effective beginning January of 2027, just to ensure that we can support the budgets of our court partners that rely on that for juvenile services. And then, related to that, you would also need to determine, the health of the other lit rates, in the interim and so forth.
Excellent. And clearly, we are a subset of the broader council, so I think these questions are going to be really helpful to discern with the entire council. But clearly, I don't know, my colleagues have any questions or initial thoughts on a budgeting philosophy or something as grandiose as that.
I definitely would like to hear everyone's input on that before I proceed with that, I think, philosophy.
Yeah.
I was reading what you were saying over here. It helps me. I really like this.
It helps me too.
Well, I think as we move forward, we're more truthful with ourselves, because we really want to see a rosy picture, and that's what we want to look for. And then we find out, just like the state did, sort of at the last minute, they had to go, oh, well, I guess we're not in such good shape. And they start changing what the legislation says, and everybody's having to deal with it last minute. I hope that we don't have to do that sort of thing. I know that we passed the budget much in deficit, and the only way we did it was we moved a lot of expenses over into the economic development as well as that jail tax. And we can't just take that back out, because it's ongoing expenses. So it isn't like as if we have to project actually having revenue there long-term to pay for that. One of it was over $1 million. What was it, $1.5 million or something for the medical contract for the jail? And that was, are you saying yes? It's like I can't.
There was that one, and then the by 2 minutes, I think, was the other.
So that still has to be covered. If it wasn't covered in that jail tax, correctional tax, it would have had to been in county general. So we had to put it someplace. So you count that $1.5 million plus the $4 million something or the other was over that in that economic development tax. And that's how much we budgeted to spend more than what we budgeted revenue. I mean, not that we weren't, there was revenue coming in economic development and jail, but we took expenses that would normally be covered out of general and moved it over to these others. So we have to recognize we did that, and that's not going to go away.
Right. Please.
I may. I don't know if it's of interest now, but we are prepared to pull up that lit sandbox, just showing where we are currently and just some options for moving forward. If you would rather do that down the road or as a complete council, that's absolutely fine as well.
Yeah, could we put a pause on that? I also love these analogies. You're talking about a lit sandbox. The trustees talked about a walled garden. This is a really lovely long-term finance committee meeting. I think, so in terms of a philosophy, I think it's going to be difficult. We're going to need to have a lot of time to think about this and process it, because the economic landscape has changed so dramatically, so quickly, that, back in the ARPA days, we were talking about making big investments, and now we're talking about how do we balance the budget. And so I think that's going to be the challenge there is where are the councilor members at now? And so I'm really happy that we're starting this conversation now, because I think it's going to take a while to get to the point where folks can kind of land on something.
So we're not going to hear from them about, I think that's real important for us to hear what their theory is right now, where we're sitting with these lids. You're saying we've agreed not to do that?
Oh, I was looking
Who's we?
I was looking at the agenda and seeing that we've got a couple more reports to go here.
Okay, well, hopefully we'll do that at the end.
Or we could do it at a full council meeting, so that all council members have.
Because that is something that I think it's important that the council hear this, not just once, not just twice. It takes, if if people are like I am, I have to read it, I have to hear it, I have to read it again for it to really digest the whole thing. And so I think is asking too much to make a presentation to the entire council just once without them hearing the background, because I know that they will listen to this meeting, even if they're not sitting here. They have every opportunity to look at your presentation. So I'm hoping that we do find time, and if people have to move on, I did schedule 3 hours today just in case.
If I may, Councilor Hawk, on that note, I mean, these reports are all ready now, so they're available to the entire council and the public. I'm happy to discuss during department updates, even every meeting for a little while, and just to remind, at least at a minimum, remind everyone that they're available, and to please bring forward any questions that you might have. Carly, do you have anything to add on that? Anything? No? Okay.
I would welcome that. I think the full council members are going to really enjoy having the opportunity to have their questions. And as Councilmember Hawk said, I think this is going to need to be an ongoing, repeated conversation.
I agree. That's a great insight.
All right. Auditor, do you have any other reports that you'd like to share with us today?
Yes, I was able to connect with the treasurer. I know she's noted on here for revenue. Revenue is actually an auditor function. However, she holds the investments, including interest and so forth. So her reports are available on the county website. I believe the council gets those as well. If not, we can make sure they do get into your hands. Just in the brief conversation I had with her, I don't want to speak for her, but her goal, she shared, is to have a 4% return on all the cash we're holding in the funds. So that is her goal. That's what she's working toward. She hopes that it comes in above that, but that's her benchmark. Okay?
Excellent, excellent. And I think on the screen now, what are we seeing? Who's sharing their screen?
Okay, this is a public document. This is actually from the Finance Board meeting. I think this was the introductory meeting they had in January this year, but this is part of that report that the treasurer provided. And I think it's dated as of 1/29/2026. So again, these reports are available publicly on the county website. I believe council office also receives them. So this is just the type of information available, and of course, you can also reach out to the treasurer for this information.
So I can't see it very well from here. Does that show the return that you're talking about, or what are we seeing?
It shows the different accounts that the treasurer is holding investments in, and the percent of the available funding in each, and it looks like total cash deposits on hand. So any specifics about the treasurer's reports, I'd really like to come, specific questions from the treasurer, just because I don't want to speak for another officer.
And that's where again? I know it's here on screen, but where is it at again? Where can people see it?
You can find it on the county website under, I think, the Board of Finance Committee.
Thank you.
Probably also on the treasurer's webpage, I would imagine.
I know that a large part of our revenue that can fluctuate so much is the amount of interest that we receive. And so I want to make sure that we are regularly updated on this is what we anticipated and this is what we've received so far, to see if we're about to hit what we thought it was going to be, because that was a lot. Was that $4 million? No. What was that? How much was that interest that was added in there? Sort of like we didn't have that number until later.
You mean when we were budgeting for 2026? Was it 6 or 7 million? Is that what you're referencing, Councilor Hawk?
I don't know why I was thinking 4 million. What was that number? I'm still called 4B, whatever.
Yeah,
on the miscellaneous revenue,
Sure.
Which shows the interest for county general.
Ms. Woodruff is pulling that up now. The number I have 6 and 7 million in my head. I think it was somewhere there. And Michelle's nodding here, so I think that's accurate. But give us one moment to pull this up.
It was huge.
Yes, it's a significant amount. And like I said, the Treasurer Smith is confident about the 4% mark, so which is still good. I don't think that's quite where we were last year, but it's still a good amount.
And the reason why I think it's important for us to watch that closely is because, of course, the treasurer was able to pull in a lot more interest money because we had a lot more cash sitting there that we are not going to have in future. So we can't count on that kind of revenue dollar amount in future as that cash gets spent down. I mean, because we were pulling it from the ARPA money and all of the money.
So she was she was adamant that 4% on what the cash balance of the funds, so the funds on the ledger, is what she envisions and what she anticipates being able to produce for the county. So we do provide those monthly revenue reports so that can show you any big swings and demonstrate that we are meeting our benchmarks. Additionally, we're going to continue to update this quarterly report that you just saw a few moments ago on your screen. And anything else necessary, your team, my team, we can assist. So just let us know, please.
Not ignoring you, I'm just reading.
Oh no, you're good. Carly, do you have anything to add? Did you confirm that number? She's still looking for that number. Apologies. We might have to get back to you on that.
Going back to the quarterly reports that you had shared earlier, in the green section, which is the anticipated revenue versus actual revenue, we do see about, what is that, a 3.18% decrease in revenue from Q1 of last year to Q1 of this year. From 7.155 down to 6.928. It's going down. So can you give some more insight as to why that might be?
Apologies. We looked into that a little bit earlier, and Carly can assist with that.
So this fluctuation of roughly $276,000, while that seems like a large number for the county, it's really pretty small. Whenever I looked into that a little bit deeper, it looks like, I'm sorry, that's $227,000. Between two account lines that are grant related, we see a decrease in those two lines of roughly $276,000. Some of that is timing, other is just we only get reimbursed based on a percentage or a per diem. So it fluctuates with those expenses for those grant dollars.
So if you look at the year total for the same figures, there is a decrease, a sizable amount, I would call it, right? 5 million-ish.
Which form, what are you looking at now?
If you look at the year total of the actual revenue, the green section, so the year total for 2024 was 70 million plus. The year total for 2025 was 65 million plus. To me, that's a decrease overall year to year, right? So it isn't just a quarter from what I see here.
We were most closely looking at, this quarter to the previous year's quarter.
Well, so, I see the bigger picture, which is year over year, right? Mm-hmm. So it isn't just the quarters for me, for sure.
It's not just the quarter.
Mm-hmm.
Member Hawk.
Yes, and as a reminder, for quite some time, the revenue coming in for the per diems at the youth shelter used to go into a separate fund where we were hoping to pay something. I'm sorry, I don't remember why we were saving it, but we were for something, and we spent it on that something. Was it to redo the youth shelter, something of the sort? But then after that, it is now going into county general. So I don't know whether they have as much emphasis as keeping track of, but they would, because this is a or how much the state is going to pay for each night that someone is placed there by the state, but also any individual amounts that people might donate to them. So, so is that what you were referring to as that number has gone down drastically, that 200-some thousand you were talking about a while ago?
A lot of those dollars, there's fluctuation in when we receive it. So when you look at quarter by quarter, you may see what looks like a decrease, but it's not actually a true decrease. Also, you have to remember a lot of these grant reimbursements are reimbursements. So if our expenses decrease, our reimbursements are also going to decrease.
And we're actually seeing that on this chart, right? In the orange section, our expenditures Q1 to Q1 are down 8.45%, which vastly outpaces the decrease in revenue, which is a negative 3.18%. So our expenditures are falling faster than our revenue is falling.
Or again, if you look at the year total for each year for that category, the actual expenditures, it's not decreased. Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah, say more about that. Yes, I'm seeing the same thing. If you look, the year total for 2024 revenue and year total for 2025 revenue, we saw a decrease of about $5 million, whereas our expenditures for year end 2024 to year end 2025 actually saw an increase of about $600,000.
Yes.
So that's upside down.
Exactly.
We're spending more than we're bringing in.
Yes,
But
exactly.
but did that even include the increase in spending that we put in other funds? Because yes, no?
If you're looking at just the green and the orange, those are just the levy funds.
Just levy.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's not the total big picture, right?
Right, you have to look in the notes column as well.
Right, I see. Okay.
But while it is not a complete snapshot, it is a useful snapshot to at least, because we went over this again and again during budget cycle, is where's the general fund? How healthy is the general fund? These levy funds are so important.
And just to bring it back, we were asked to provide an overview and to concentrate on those bigger funds. So if you would like something else, we just need direction.
I get it. I'm just noticing what I notice.
Also, I do want to note that whenever you start looking at funds beyond the levy funds, you get into nuanced situations. You get into where distributions are going into and out of distribution funds.
Yeah.
We flow money through different funds within the county regularly. So whenever you start analyzing those receipts and expenditures that are not true receipts and expenditures, it starts manipulating that data, and then it looks a little funky. And so we try to focus on these levy funds where there's less of that occurring. So if you notice, whenever you look at these notes, we specifically took out accounts that have money flowing into and out of these specific funds. There's just so many different ways that the financials work that we wanted to give the most accurate representation of what we think is most important.
I hear you.
Right. I would just suggest that when we're looking at the levy funds, and then you have column over here that needs to be, here's our income tax funds, because we're relying more and more on that income tax. Now, it's all going to be under one great big umbrella before we get turned around, but we've got to figure out how we're going to live between now and the time it's actually the revenues coming in from that a different source, and then put back into with our property tax.
Sure. We did provide in the email for this group the lit sandbox, so you can take a look at that when you have ability to kind of digest more information.
Yeah, you did. Thank you. All right. We need, I think, to push on to a conversation about longevity, but I did want to give you the final word.
Just thank you. I think, you know, the pregame, if you will, to prepare for this meeting was really beneficial. We could determine what you wanted to see and hear from us, and we'll take the notes and go from there for next meeting. Appreciate it. Thank you.
As a reminder to my colleagues, this report will be shared every single quarter that we have these meetings. So if you do have tweaks, you have additional funds you want to analyze, you have additional data that you want to analyze, please get with the auditor's office and we can see those tweaks. All right. Next, we are going to look to Kim Shell to give us an update on the longevity and the fiscal impact of longevity. The floor is yours.
Okay. Yes. So longevity. We've and I say we. The council has been speaking about removing longevity out of the budget, and this all basically. And I just to give a little bit of background. We did a WIS financial analysis when we did our job descriptions and just did a big overhaul back in November of 2021. And it was during that timeline that they recommended that we either do away with the step increases or we do away with longevity because they were, we were dual paying employees. So in an effort to kind of remove longevity, council passed back November 1st of 2023, and anyone hired after that date would no longer be eligible for longevity. So any hires after November 1st of 2023. So right now we sit at, and you want me to put that up on the screen?
That would be really helpful. I think when we start talking about numbers, it's really easy to get lost, especially when comparing numbers over years and over different time periods.
And you know, for IT or whoever does this, it would be really helpful if there was a screen over there. Because,
Oh, just right in front of you?
I mean, I can see this just fine. I feel bad for you guys.
Oh, don't feel bad for us.
Okay, I won't cry. You guys can, but I really appreciate it.
Good, good, good.
When are we?
Okay, so I went through each.
Make the whole screen by chance? Or
What?
Is there a way to make it the whole screen, or that's as big as it gets?
If you want it big, I can only do it like this.
Okay, thank
If
you.
you want to see the whole thing, it's going to be very small.
All right. There's no medium?
Not really.
All right.
So I went through year by year on how many employees we have per the amount that they're going to get for longevity. So I'm not going to go through each one. It is in the packet if anybody wants to see it. So, you know, I'll just kind of scroll a little bit here. But as you can see, we still have quite a few people at the lower level, I would say. You know, like we have 50 people that are currently at the 4-year level, and that's a $400 per year longevity amount that they get. So as we continue on, you'll see that the numbers begin to decrease, and you know that's due to people leaving, people retiring, that kind of thing. So when we get down to the higher numbers, so like 25 years and more, you see even a bigger, you know, bite out of those numbers. And then we have 1 year where we don't even have anybody at the 32 year, which I thought was very interesting. So so we keep going, and we have, as you see, we have one person at the 38 year, we have one person at 39, one at 40, one at 41, and then we have one who has been here for 53 years. So we have a total of 433 employees, full-time employees, that are still receiving longevity. And so you can see that that amount equals $394,200. The FICA amount associated with that is $30,157. So this is just for 2026. we currently have 146 full-time employees that are no longer eligible due to that November 1st, 2023 cutoff date. And that we also have 32 of those full-time 32 of our positions are vacant. So we are not paying longevity. Those have become vacant, and if they are filled, they would not be eligible. So that's where we stand right now with regards to longevity and how we're working through that right now. So I know that, council is, trying to see if there's ways to maybe move this along faster, but this is where we're at right at the moment.
All right.
So I may not have it memorized about how they figure the amount per person. So is there a chart somewhere about that?
Yes, there's a chart that's in our personal policy handbook on how much they get. So we also have that copied as a reference in our salary ordinance as well.
Okay, thank you.
So do you have something similar to that to show us about the step increases? And remind us when we started the step increases, because, time flies, but doesn't seem like that long ago. But we haven't had step increases.
We started step increases back in 2017 when we added the 8-year and the 14-year. And no, I didn't have a chance to do that, but I can have that ready for the next quarter.
Okay. I'm sorry. The reason why I was going to suggest that, or just have a discussion with it, there are some areas, and I know in some of the school boards and so forth, they have put a freeze on, where we're not going to cut you back, but wherever you are right now, you're not moving forward for now, just as a pause until they can see where it is. I'm not saying that's what we should do, but because, of course, we can't even see what the step increases are, because we don't have a report on that. But in other words, if you are accustomed to getting 2,600, whatever it is for longevity, it isn't like you would lose that, but you would not gain more. Or if you were already at a certain step increase, you weren't going to gain anymore. But you weren't going to lose it. You were going to just stay right there. So I'm thinking that's, if we got up against it, I don't know. I'm not a soothsayer, so I don't know what kind of position we're going to be in. And so I know that when we talked about reducing longevity, I mean, that the employees really thought we had gotten in their pocket because they count on that as part of their salary. So, and I understand that. So I'm just throwing that out there as something that other units have had to do, as said, we're not going to get rid of it, but we're going to pause it, not grow anymore. And that would also mean that any new person coming on board, they wouldn't have a step increase, and they wouldn't have longevity, so they wouldn't have any of those things. And we would pause on it till we see where we're going. Now, the other thing that the council did, which was rather unusual, is that they, because the state is in control, oh my goodness, look where that kid's sitting. Can't look.
That happens a lot.
All right.
Does that look dangerous to you or no?
No, there's another shelf. He's okay.
Maybe that's
Let's get back to step increases and longevity here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I've lost train of thought on
Do you want
that.
me to take it over and see?
What?
I'll ask my question so you can. All right. So right now in the salary ordinance, our highest step is 25 years.
That is correct.
So
That is correct.
So anybody on this chart who is at 26 years or higher means that they don't get a step increase in the current system.
Because it
Correct.
maxes out.
because it maxes out.
Correct.
As you've been thinking a lot about this, what recommendations would you offer to council as to where you would even begin to think about putting those additional step increases?
Well, I mean, we've had some departments ask for an increase, like another step level above 25, so they're asking like for a 30. We've also had departments go, it's such a long section between the 3-year and the 8-year, maybe do a 5-year and maybe, you know, like shuffle some things around, you know, do a 5 and a 10 rather than an 8 and a 14, you know, kind of thing. So.
And I know we haven't done the math yet, but I think that's where the decision lies, is where is the fiscal impact greater in providing those additional steps or leaving it as it is?
Well, and you have to think as well, when you do step increases also, you have FICA, but you also have PERF within that. So you're also paying for any retirement on top of that. With longevity, it's just straight FICA. They do not get, it does not get PERF on top of that.
Great, thank you. Would you mind closing the blinds? That's really distracting.
Are you going to close the blind so I can't see him jump? I'm glad I had my chair.
Right, so, okay. So Kim Shell, you were saying that that's the analysis that we need to do to move forward.
Right, because like I said, this only shows, you know, you've got 433 people that you're going to pay this amount out for this year plus the FICA. When I have to go back through and do the analysis with regards to the step increases, that's also going to include FICA as well as PERF.
Right,
So,
right.
and it'll take me, I will have that ready by the second quarter, but there's going to be 35-hour positions versus 40-hour positions, and then we have SO positions. So, yeah.
So there's a lot of work to do here to build in all of the contingencies.
Correct.
The chief deputies, for whatever reason, instead of having them at 75% of the elected officials' salaries, which is what it is in most every other counties, we put it in 1 year, like, I mean, we went literally.
We're at 90%.
90% when
Yes.
other counties are, and we had always been at that 75%. So that is quite a jump, but that's just for the chief deputies. But I'm just saying, we had never done that before. So that was one of the things when people thought, oh, we got money, let's go spread the wealth. And in addition to which, they were allowed, I believe they were allowed longevity.
Yes, chief
And-
deputies do get longevity.
Okay, so what I've been hearing from some of the elected officials is, look, by the time they get longevity, if this staff person that's been dedicated, and actually in many cases, as we all know, the chief deputy is actually the one running the office. True. In some of the offices. But what I'm hearing is that by the time you count longevity on top of the 90%, they're getting close to making the same thing as the elected official, who is the one who is absolutely responsible come or high water. They've got to know what's going on. And if they don't, their name's on the dotted line. They're the ones that have to answer to the public. They're the ones that have to go to the public and say, trust me. And so that was also sort of a sticky wicket. I'm not arguing either point. I'm just telling you what happened. And in addition to which, at about that same time, even though The state is the one who tells us what we have to pay our probation officers. We don't get to choose. The state says this is what they're to pay. Now, that doesn't mean that we can't pay them more. We just can't pay them any less. And there's all kinds of different step-ups with probation officers, depending on how many they have under them, or if they hit a certain amount of education, or, because they've gone to the state and said, this is what we wanted to say, and the state came back and told the counties, this is what you have to do. But they have a step plan, a step plan, which we did not have. The county didn't have at the time. We just had longevity. Well, a couple of years ago, people thought we had money. We just said, okay, now we're going to start on top of paying them what the state has to pay. We're going to also give them our increase in salaries. Like if we get a 3% increase, the state says no, we just add 3% on top of there. And at the same time, we added on longevity, which they'd never received before. So they get a step increase and they get longevity. And they get our increase, and if we don't have the money for an increase, but the state gives an increase, they will get the increase. So, do I love our probation department? Yes, I do. But we're talking about the rest of the county employees. If we're talking about if they have to have hardship, we have to make sure everybody shares the pain, I guess is what I'd like to say.
On that cheery note, I am hearing that you're going to come back for the Q2 version of this with some additional information about additional steps, that fiscal impact, and compare that to the fiscal impact you showed today so that we have a better understanding of what any one of these step increases would look like, if it's a 5, if it's a 35, or whatever.
Correct.
Okay. And then, Madam Auditor, did you have an additional comment or question?
Just a quick comment. I would just caution the council from just identifying such a small subset of employees. They are employees, they're appointed, but they're not elected. They're employees of the county, chief deputies. It's a really minimal fiscal impact, even between that 75 and 90% of the overall big picture. And reducing salaries would be terrible for morale for these people. In addition to that, I don't think we would be able to maintain the employment of these individuals. So I just wanted to put that note out there.
I hope you recognize I did not say we should reduce their salaries. I've never said that about any position. I'm just saying it might be something we'd want to look at in future for newly elected officials, new chief deputies, something. I mean, if we're looking at let's cut longevity, I'm just saying let's be fair.
Right.
But then, it always seems like it's fair until it hits your pocket, I guess is what I just said. That's
and I think the underlying factor here is these are very difficult decisions. And that's why we wanted to encourage Ms. Schell to give this presentation today, because when we make difficult decisions at the last second, we make mistakes. But if we have months and months and months and months to consider this and to take the time to look at it with our partners throughout the county, then we tend to make better decisions. And so that's exactly what we want to do, is we want to slow walk this and get as much information out there before a decision is made. And again, I'll say the same thing here that I mentioned to the trustees. No decisions are being made at LTF. The council, the full council, needs to make all the decisions. And I think that's probably a good place to leave this, and we look forward to your report next.
Also, if you're preparing a report, if you could show us what it would be if we did say we're freezing everybody where they are. We're not reducing it, we're just freezing. Now, I'm not saying we'll freeze the salaries. I'm just saying freeze wherever you are in the step plan, freeze wherever you are in the longevity plan.
Okay. So like so like for me, for instance, I'm at the 8-year, I'm getting ready to go to the 14. I would just stay at the 8-year until we figure out what we're doing. So, Okay,
You see how much you won't like that if it hits you?
exactly.
I mean,
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah,
On the other hand, people don't want their longevity cut. Boy, you know, maybe the money tree's gonna show up in the backyard.
Well, I've got two, so I think we're going to be all right. All right, we have one final first quarter update. That is from Mr. Jeff Cockrell. This is not on the agenda, but we received information very recently. And so, Mr. Cockrell, what do we need to know?
I guess, just fair warning, I got a call coming in at 3 p.m. and it's 2:55. I guess before that, I was listening to the last conversation. I was wondering if Kim could email me that 2021 report from WIS that had all the guidance on it. I think that would be interesting to look at.
Yes.
I guess Molly Turner King and I met with bond counsel Barnes and Thornburg on Friday. The primary goal of that was to determine if as we're looking at the jail project, what would be a reasonable bond timeline in order to accomplish what was in the report that Mr. Garish has put together and presented to the council. The bond counsel indicated that there is a path to move forward where that could be issued this year. He noted that if we waited until next year, that path may be changed by the state legislature, either positive, negative, don't know, but it would be subject to that. And I don't think it's unreasonable to expect that the state legislature is going to be looking at kind of what happened with SCA 1 a couple years ago and continuing to make tweaks. So I don't think it would be unrealistic that something in that wouldn't be looked at and addressed. So that was kind of the update in the report that we received on Friday.
Great. Council members, do you have a less than a 4-minute question?
Nope.
To be clear, I did inquire from the person who was discussing this if it was still, whatever the bond amount was it still to be repaid out of the 1.2, which is the county operating dollars. And he confirmed that that is the case. So I hope that we won't just jump right into, yes, we agree to this rather large bond that's going to take out, maybe 40% of our revenue, unless that's what everybody wants to do. At least I think we should know what we're doing before we do it.
Right, and I appreciate this update. It's not so much about the dollar amounts at this point, but rather about the timing has changed.
Correct, and I think particularly we were looking at that report that the Financial Solutions Group had put together. They had some maximums and things like that that I'm not here to recommend. Right, I would not go with their maximum. I would recommend not looking at the full amount, but looking at something below that, because spending every dollar you have extra, even in that context, doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But I do think that report also indicated that the 0.4 probably isn't realistic, at least till, and that would raise the 225, right? I think everybody kind of understands that 225 is off the table unless we wait till 29, and then it could be on the table, could not be, right? But I think for the short-term solutions that we need with our jail project, that 225 is just not realistic.
Sure. A question on timing, real quick before you have to leave, is knowing that bond counsel needs a certain runway to move forward, hearing that we could be moving forward this calendar year, what are we looking at in terms of needing to make a decision by the full council?
I think, and I've heard two different dates from him. He said yesterday that a decision on the property need to be made by July. And when we talked to him on Friday, he indicated that we need to start the process sometime in June. I think the additional process, and I think that's really kicking off we're going to have to use the building corporation for the constitutional debt limit. And so we have to have some kind of lease, the lease purchase kind of motive using a building corporation, and that takes signatures and an extra amount of time to authorize the lease and move forward. It's just additional steps that we typically don't see when we do our general obligation bonds.
All right, well, thank you so much. It's going to be quick, yeah.
Okay, I heard you said that I don't think there's anything new about timing. It isn't like a change of legislation in the last week or so, but it's just an update to say if we're going to have it done within, it takes so much time to do each of these steps.
It's a process, and the council is kind of accustomed to our general obligation bond process, and this is a longer process than that.
Right. All right. Mr. Cockrell, we look forward to future updates from you. Enjoy your phone call.
Thank you.
All right, that concludes our first quarter updates. Again, council members, if you have additional reports that you think are going to be interesting or helpful to the public to showcase that we are being good stewards with tax dollars, please request those and we'll meet again. And since we are talking about meeting again, I would like to keep our LTF meetings moving forward. And it has been recommended by council staff to go ahead and schedule our second quarter meeting for Tuesday, June the 30th at 1:30 p.m. and the third quarter meeting for September 29th at 1:30 p.m. They would take place here in the Nat U Hill Room and be available online for all of you as well. Council members, do you have any questions regarding these dates?
No, I don't.
I think the June 30th might be problematic for me, but if it works for you guys, that's fine.
All right. Staff, any questions or comments about the dates? Auditor's office, this works for you as you're going to be providing updates, and I know you've got a lot of...
I mean, having it on the 30th doesn't allow for a full month's data, you know what I mean? But that is what it is. We'll make do like we did this time.
I think given the overview that we're doing, I'm not sure that we need that drilled down last 8 hours of
Just letting
activity.
you know.
Okay.
And I'll just say the reason we chose those particular dates is because it was the 5th Tuesday, or yes, of those months. So there's no conflict with anybody in the rooms or anything like that. So that's why we kind of did it that way.
All right, so I think we're going to move forward with adoption, and if we need to change things, we can always do so. All those in favor of adopting the second and third quarter LTF meetings as presented signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, same sign. The motion carries unanimously. Finally, as always, on the agenda is public comment for items that haven't been on this agenda. If you have questions or comments about the fiscal affairs of this county, about our long-term financial standings, please, you have 3 minutes to tell us what's on your mind. We ask that you come forward to the podium here or raise your hand on Teams, state your name for the record, and the floor is yours. I don't see folks here on the Nat U Hill. And I'm going to give one more second for hands raised on Teams. I'm not seeing anybody. So that means that we are going to see everyone again on Tuesday, June the 30th at 1:30 p.m. We are adjourned.